Good afternoon, and welcome to CFP Board's webinar on CFP Board's Women's Initiative, How CFP Professionals Can Get Involved. I'm Marilyn Mohrman-Gillis. I'm Managing Director of Public Policy and Communications, and I am here with Eleanor Blayney, our Consumer Advocate. Before we start, I would like to do a few housekeeping talking points, but first let me apologize for my voice. I must have caught a bit of a summer cold, and I'm struggling with it, and I will, unfortunately, I'll do my best. But before we get started, I wanted to cover a few housekeeping items for today's webinar. If you run into any issues with audio, or if it seems like the slides are out of sync, try refreshing your webinar console. And to do that on your PC, press F5. If you're using a Mac, press Command R. You'll see a question and answer function on your screen that you can use at any time during the program to submit questions to us. We have a lot of good information to share with you today, and we intend to leave plenty of time to answer your questions. And if we don't get to your questions today during the broadcast, CFP Board will follow up to provide you with an answer. So anyone who asks a question, if you ask a question either before the webinar or during the webinar that is not addressed in the webinar, we will definitely be following up with you directly. If you're on Twitter, we encourage you to promote today's webinar using the hashtag CFPsWin. Please note that this webinar does not grant CFP Board's continuing education credit, had to say that, and a recording of today's webinar will be available shortly on our website at cfp.net. So let's get into the program. So today, we want to give you a little update about our Women's Initiative with a focus on our WIN Advocate program, the toolkit that we have to offer, and most importantly and most excitedly, we have presentations from current WIN advocates who will be talking to you about their experience getting the WIN message out. Next steps, how do you become a WIN advocate and access the toolkit, and then we'll leave plenty of time for questions and answers. So about WIN. Our WIN initiative was launched 2 years ago to seek to address the shortage of women CFP professionals. There are 23% of our CFP professionals are women, and that has remained static for a period of 10 years. So we launched the WIN initiative to identify why so few women are choosing to become part of the financial planning profession when we think that it is a wonderful profession for women. The WIN initiative is made recommendations for encouraging and supporting women to pursue careers in financial planning, and came out with a series of recommendations to address the famine in financial planning. It's defined by 3 key phases. In phase 1, we did a year-long research project to look at the causes of underrepresentation, and then went on to phase 2 to develop a set of recommendations in our WIN white paper on what to do about the issues. So we've completed phases 1 and 2 as of April 2014 when we released the white paper, Making More Room for Women in the Financial Planning Profession. We're now in phase 3, the implementation phase, and that's where you all come in. This is going to require a sustained and dedicated effort on the part of our WIN advocates, organizations and companies throughout the country over a number of years. And so we are very excited about initiatives that we've identified that we think can move the needle, and very excited about talking to you about them. And one of the very first initiatives that came out of our white paper was to turn our WIN advisory group, expand it, and turn it into a board-approved WIN council. We now have a WIN council in place, and it is under the council's advice that we are going to be moving forward with our implementation experts. You can see on the slide the WIN council members. We have experts on women's issues, from around the country, people who bring to this this issue a tremendous amount of expertise on the whole issue of women, particularly in financial services. And we are very pleased to be working with this wonderful group of experts. This group is going to be advising CFP Board as we pursue our WIN initiatives. We had an inaugural meeting on December 17th, and we are moving forward under the guidance of this group. At this point in time, I would like to turn the program over to Eleanor. Eleanor will start with giving you a very high-level synopsis of the recommendations that came out of the research, how we can attract more women from outside the profession, and how can we make the profession more attractive to women. Eleanor.
Thank you, Marilyn, and welcome to everybody who has joined us today. We're delighted to have you here. Yes, I want to just summarize the recommendations that were made in our white paper, Making More Room for Women in Financial Planning. And these recommendations come straight out of the findings. You know, we found certain issues and certain barriers and certain misperceptions through the research, and hence have targeted our recommendations to deal precisely with these issues. First of all, we need to, and many of us are aware of this, we need to correct misperceptions about financial planning and what it means. I know many times I announce to someone I'm a certified financial planner or financial planner, and they will ask me for an investment tip. So there's this reductionist view in many cases that financial planning is really just all about either selling products or investment products and markets. We need to correct that misperception and characterize financial planning for what it is, that it is indeed a holistic discipline that requires great communication skills, relationship skills, and in fact is perfectly tailored to the skills that many women and men, but many women for sure, bring to the field. We realize that we have to educate guidance counselors and placement officers to promote financial planning as a distinct profession, and again, as a great career for women. Many guidance counselors don't even know that such a thing exists. I mean, we've been in financial planning. CFP Board is about to celebrate its 30th anniversary. And so financial planning, let's say, has been around for 4 or 5 decades, but it has been shaping and emerging and gaining stature and credibility over those years, and we're still perhaps unknown to many of those professionals who advise people on where to look for a job. So that's definitely an important recommendation. We know we have to make women leaders more visible to women and girls. As one of our WIN Advisory Council members says, and this is Kathleen McQuiggan, she often says, you cannot be what you cannot see. And because we are so few in number in the profession, there aren't enough models and leaders out there to be compellingly visible. So we are thinking about ways and programs where we will highlight women leaders in the profession so that girls and career changers, women MBA students can begin to say, wow, you know, I like what she's saying. I want to be who she is, or I want to do what she's been doing. This is a really, really important part. Next, we need to, and all of those ideas are really sort of reaching back deep into the pipeline of female talent to get that story told. But meanwhile, we also have to do some work on our profession, the industry itself, to make this a more welcoming, positive experience for women and girls who may be considering it or maybe just learning about financial planning. So we have committed CFP Board as a leader in the profession and as a catalyst to change. We want to find ways to encourage top management at at financial planning firms, at financial services firms, to commit to measurable gender diversity goals. We see this practice as very much emerging among corporate America, particularly publicly held corporate America. But in our own industry, it's time that diversity goals, gender as well as other types of diversity goals, be a part of good practice and business management. We also need to encourage firms to adopt transparent compensation structures and to offer alternative forms of compensation to entry-level employees. There is, as our white paper demonstrated, the research behind the white paper demonstrated, there is a pay gap, a gender pay gap that exists in financial planning. And we need to be more transparent to encourage more women. They know that they're being paid what they're worth. And also the alternative forms of compensation. There are many women who may be in a position in their life, either by preference, temperament, or economic circumstances, where they're not in a position to be producing immediately or earning only what they have, the revenue, based on the revenues or commissions they brought in. There needs to be other forms of compensation to encourage women into the industry. And then finally, we need more mentoring and networking programs. We heard this over and over again, and I think anyone on this call probably has noted the need for more networking, or has been looking for a mentor, or wishes to be a mentor. We need to formalize this and make it a much broader practice in the field. So those are the major recommendations, and we'll be getting to some ideas for addressing the recommendations through the WIN Advocate Program. But I just want to talk to you a little bit about the, what shall I call it, the incredible passionate response that we have had since April 2014 when we announced this initiative and what we found. We have had a lot of you, we have a lot of you on the call today, and we have heard from many, many people. They want to know more. What are we doing? What can I do to help? At our first, right after we released the white paper, we asked for volunteers. We were just getting so many requests for information and offers of help. We created a database, if you will, of people who had indicated that they wanted to help in one way or another. From our volunteer base, we then decided, with this many people interested in trying to do something, that we would create a WIN Advocate Program. And I'll get to exactly what that entails in just a moment. But to date, we have 180 WIN advocates, and this really are people reaching out to us saying, I would like to be an advocate for the mission of getting more women into the financial planning profession and getting their CFP certification. We have also created a brochure, and this actually is something that is available to our WIN advocates as part of the toolkit that we also will be talking about in a minute. We have created a brochure that is entitled A Great Career for Women. And we used a lot of the material that we heard during our qualitative phases of our research study. The ideas that young women expressed when they thought about a career, or they were studying for a career in financial planning, these were the things that resonated with them. And we used a lot of that messaging in this brochure. And it's something that is, as I say, can be made available in your outreach to audiences. We've taken our messaging on the road. We've done a lot of speaking. You have a picture there of Marilyn and I at the Women Advisors Forum, and we've spoken at that venue a couple of times. Investment News also had a women's summit. We've spoken at Charles Schwab. We've spoken at the Women in Insurance and Financial Services. As you can imagine, this really is a hot topic at the moment, and we want to be at these places talking about it. I've now spoken at a number of forums of basically women only, or men are there, but it is a conference dedicated to the woman professional. And I just have to tell you, the energy and the exchange and the conversations are fabulous. It's really been an honor to be able to try to mobilize and speak to a room full of really interested, engaged women. We've also been tracked a lot in the media, and you have here just a couple of the places where we've been quoted or we have appeared to talk about what CFP Board is doing with our Women's Initiative. Now I want to turn to what the WIN Advocate program is all about. And the first thing I can say is that this really is a program for volunteers, and it's entirely what you make of it. We ask for your passion, we ask for your story. The idea is to get out there and start speaking to girls, a girl, a niece, a cousin, a daughter, groups of women, groups of young female students, to start introducing, to tell the story of financial planning, what it means, and to tell your own story. Why did you become a CFP? And what are some of the challenges and opportunities you have had along the way? The stories are so powerful, and the only real requirement, we have a couple of small requirements to become a WIN advocate, but all you need to have really is your story and the message of financial planning as a great career. Here are some ideas beyond telling your story. Writing an article on WIN for newsletters of your membership organizations or alumni publications. I happen to be a graduate from one of the few remaining all-women colleges in this country, and so that's an ideal opportunity to share my story. And actually, I've contributed to the magazine on several occasions. Also, raising awareness in your own firms about WIN and the Women's Initiative, what's going on, and the importance of diversity. You might, for example, offer to speak to target audiences, to girls groups, to groups of professional and business women. I think everyone's probably got a nearby Chamber of Commerce, and 9 times out of 10 there's going to be a Women's Business Council at that Chamber of Commerce. You can identify speaking opportunities at firms or professional conferences. There are many of you belong to firms that are national in scope, and they bring professionals together on an annual or perhaps more frequent basis, and you may want to raise your hand and be the one that's talking about what CFP Board is doing about the Women's Initiative. The other thing we ask is simply keeping in touch with us about your WIN activities. This really is a program we created to tap into the energy and the passion that we felt from all of those volunteers. It's being shaped as people are raising their hands and saying, this is what I'm going to do. And it's really your program. And we need to know what you're finding, what you're hearing, what questions are being asked, and most importantly, things that you may need to make the presentation, your message more powerful to the audiences that you're speaking with. So please keep in touch with us. We really appreciate that. We did try to make this once you've raised your hand and said, I'm willing to do it, we wanted to make this as much a grab-and-go type of presentation. We wanted to give you a toolkit so that you could walk out with some materials. If you find the audiences, you find the occasion, the opportunities, we will equip you with various things that you can use in those presentations and in those messages. So, for example, in the toolkit, you get scripted presentations, and at this point, they're intended for a very general audience. This is really more descriptive about financial planning, about clearing up those misperceptions and telling it like it really is. And here's your chance, too, to tell your story. We also have a more in-depth professional presentation. So this might be for audiences, within the network of your firm's, within your firm's network, or to professionals in the financial services industry. And it goes into some of the deeper findings of the research, both about barriers that may exist, about industry culture and attitudes that need, they need reforming. So we have two levels. We also have created some short video clips that you can use in a presentation. You can embed it in a presentation. You can use it in social media. We have fact sheets on our research. And then finally, we give you the frequently asked questions and also the answers about our WIN program so that you're prepared to be out there. What you have on the right side of your screen is just a little sample of what's in the toolkit. This actually is the script that is included in a PowerPoint presentation where we have you tell your story. We also, in this toolkit, have a number of communication tools and templates. For example, we came up with a sample letter that you might use to send to an organization to say, I'm a CFP, I am a CFP Board WIN advocate, and I would like to speak to your organization about this topic. We also have descriptions of the presentation material. I know I do enough speaking, and I'm always asked for a 100-word description of what I'm going to be talking about. We have that for you. We have some tips on presentations, some sample tweets, and a list of women's organizations to contact. And most of these are organizations that would have chapters located in your metro area or relatively nearby that you may want to reach out to. So we have a lot in there, but again, we're asking all those who use this toolkit keep us informed as to how you're using it, what you're doing with it, what you're finding, what isn't there that you need, because this is a program that CFP Board and you as the volunteers will create and build together. So with that, we are really excited because we have 3 WIN advocates here today to talk a little bit about what they've been doing in the field and share with you kind of how they approach this advocacy role. They're shaping it. What did they do? Who did they talk to? And how did they go about it? So I'm going to introduce each in turn and have them share with you their efforts as WIN advocates. So my first WIN advocate that I'm delighted to introduce you to is Mary Ballin. She is a CFP and a client advisor with Mosaic Financial Partners in San Francisco. She's a member of the FPA. And Mary's particular passion that she joined with both her passion for her career, but she's also passionate about Girl Scouts and, needless to say, about her daughter. So she's done a lot with the Girl Scouts of Northern California and actually has been a troop leader for her daughter's troop. So she used that platform that she's already engaged and visible in to bring the WIN message. And this is just a wonderful story. I will let Mary tell it to you, but you can see her there at the right with 2 really excited Girl Scouts. I love it, with their sashes and their badges. And also a colleague that works with Mary. She's not yet a CFP, but she's on her way. If this isn't the perfect picture of a WIN event, young girl, somebody on her way to get her CFP, and a veteran CFP. So Mary, thanks for being here, and we'd love to hear from you.
Oh, Eleanor, thank you for asking me to be part of this. It's really exciting. I have a huge passion for, just in general, making sure that girls know how to be financially savvy, and having a daughter of my own who is now actually in high school, and then having the opportunity to spread this word through the Girl Scouts organization that I am so involved in here in my community, was just a great forum. My service unit here in my town, we did a service unit level event for middle school and high school girls, and it was called What a Girl Can Do, and it was about bringing in professionals, women, who are representing professions which are not highly represented by women. So there were a lot of blue-collar workers there, but I was the one who stepped up as, a CFP, knowing that there's less than 25% CFPs represented as women out there. And so looking at the toolkit, we needed to be a bit creative, because that toolkit, the WIN toolkit, is still, something that is being created and refined, and as Eleanor was saying, we all need to participate in how we're going to make this program bigger and better. So I thought, how are we going to be able to get this to appeal to girls that are not quite at that level where they're making decisions, but we need to plant the seeds. We need to show them a vision of what they can do. And the game of life is what came to mind, and bringing Elise Krause along, who is my dear colleague that works with me at Mosaic, and is young and energetic and can really be viewed to these girls more as the big sister versus me, who is, mom and the leader, and, but it ended up being a really fun event, and all of the professionals that participated in the What a Girl Can Do event had an opportunity to get up and speak as a group, but then there was the breakout sessions. And the breakout sessions is where we had an opportunity to talk to the girls and the parents one-on-one, and we used the game of life, because that is an opportunity for us to sit there and pull cards and use examples of different life transitions and events that happen to every individual and family, and have the girls be able to relate it back and talk to us about how being a CFP can play into that. It ended up being hugely successful. There were somewhere in the neighborhood of 60, 70 middle and high school girls there. What I thought was super exciting is I even had a mom approach me who works in a major broker-dealer as an associate. She's not a broker yet, but she's been thinking about being a CFP, and gave her the opportunity to speak to Elise, who's going through the program, and me, who's been a CFP for a few years, and talk about what it's like being a woman in this profession. So it's just a great launching pad, and I just think it's, if we catch these girls young and plant those seeds and show them how exciting it can be and what you can do with it, the numbers will grow as we move down into the future.
Thank you, Mary. That game of life, we've been talking about that here at the board. That is brilliant. I love it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I really had to rack my brain around it, but that was what came to me, and I'm really thrilled that it worked out, and it energized the girls. And as you can see with the two that are there, they were pretty excited. So
they were excited being clients.
Yeah. And I was thrilled to have Elise be there.
Getting the car and putting their children in the car, and then all the stuff that goes with it. That is just fabulous.
Exactly.
Right.
So and having Elise there just was a huge bonus, because she being young just made it that much more approachable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and relevant to them.
Great example. Just great. Okay, well, we're now going to turn to Cynthia Branca. She also is a CFP. She's an investment advisor rep at Cetera Financial Networks in the New York metro area. Cynthia jumped on board right at the beginning when we first announced the WIN Advocate program, and she's been energetic, finding lots of opportunities. So I think you'll get from her a sense of some of the possibilities out there for finding interested audiences. I have to say this about Cynthia. As she was summarizing all that she has already done, she closed her email to me with What more can I do? I loved it. That is just a great, music to our ears here. So, Cynthia, welcome. Thank you for joining our webinar, and we'd love to hear you share about the opportunities that you found out in your community to talk about your career as a CFP and to motivate and encourage others.
Well, thank you, Eleanor. I'm so happy to be here. I believe in this so much, and I commend Mary for the work that she's done. So I want to first start out with I attended a CFP WIN meeting in New York City about a year ago, and I was immediately inspired. After talking to Nancy Kishner and Eleanor, I was convinced that I needed to get involved. What inspired me were two things. First, as a woman and an entrepreneur, I experienced firsthand how difficult succeeding in this business can be. After being in the business for 10 years and completing my CFP designation, I went from being an assistant, then to a junior advisor, and eventually building my own practice. It's always been very intuitive to me, and I think to a lot of women, that the best way to do this is to work with other advisors and build a team that could put the client's interest first. But I found in the early years that the support for new reps and the team approach was not really what was being practiced in the real world. When I joined Cetera Advisor Networks, I found an environment in my regional office that was extremely supportive. My workplace allowed me to chart my path and emerge as the businesswoman that I wanted to be. I'm so lucky to have been introduced to wonderful professionals here at Cetera. I was also inspired because of my ongoing interest to educate and empower young girls and women. I am also a mother of 3 daughters, and I've been a long-time advocate of Girl Scouts during their upbringing, and I think it's a great empowerment program. We as women have so much to bring to the client relationship. We cannot forget how much we have in our arsenal. We're problem solvers. We're good listeners. We're adept at interpersonal relationships and communication. Some of the things that I have done leading up to WIN have been that I've been involved with my local women's business associations. I've been involved in various capacities throughout the years, and I'm now the president of the board of one such association. Our mission here is to network, support through scholarship and recognition, create educational programming and events, and empower women business owners to be all that they can be. I'm also a chapter president for a national charity that locally serves children from infant to 18 years of age in need, financial need. Part of the charity's initiative is financial literacy. That's what really drew me in. This has given me a way to spread the word to underprivileged high school kids about the basic tools needed to be financially literate. And along the way, I've been able to talk to them about a CFP career. Those activities dovetailed so well into my work with WIN. I partnered with our local community college and got involved with mentoring female students in non-traditional career tracks. I meet with one student several times during a semester. When I bring that student here to the office, it energizes the advisors here at the office. They think it's the greatest thing. So my mission is to enlighten these young women through the job shadowing, and we talk about the rewards and the challenges of the CFP profession. I want these young women to go into a career enlightened so they can realistically pursue their own dreams. I hope to demonstrate through my actions that they can continue changing the landscape of our industry for the better. And then finally, I've spoken to large groups of high school, like in high school assemblies, about our profession. And I'm always being approached. Just through speaking at schools, I get new opportunities coming to me all the time to educate and empower children about our profession. I would like to add that the CFP WIN toolkit, it's very, very helpful. Very user-friendly. I use the introduction letter and the brochures as well as the research talking points regularly. Everything you need to speak intelligently about the initiative is in the toolkit. Whether it's speaking to a large group of students or talking one-on-one with women thinking about becoming a CFP, I feel we can really advance and enhance the perception and growth of our profession. And that's what I do on a daily basis.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you so much. Your passion is really evident, and we're very grateful for it.
Thank you.
Okay, let us turn to our final for today, WIN Advocate, and this is really to show that men are helping us too. And I want to introduce you to Samir Samal, who's a CFP, and he's got a lot of C's in his name. He's a CFP, a CFA, and a CFO at Blue Ocean Global Wealth, which is located fairly close by in Rockville, Maryland. He serves on the FPA's National Diversity Committee, and he's also on his local chapter in Philly. He's on the board of directors of the FPA chapter there. He goes back and forth. This guy's on the move. He is also a managing director at iPlan Education Institute in New Delhi, India, and he and his partner, Rita Chang, who also serves as a CFP Board ambassador, do a lot of speaking to a variety of audiences. So, Samir, welcome, and we're delighted to have you here.
Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you, Marilyn and CFP Board for hosting this important webinar. It's most definitely an honor to represent our firm and comment with such leaders as Mary and Cynthia. Blue Ocean Global Wealth, led by Margarita Cheng, a CFP Board ambassador and WIN advocate, is genuinely passionate about solving succession planning and diversity challenges within our industry through education. The emergence of women in terms of leadership, entrepreneurship, and innovation is indisputable. Women are an essential and integrated part of the American economy. Women, on average, are pursuing higher education and earning more advanced degrees than men. The reason they have emerging affluence and influence is because of education. Women today represent roughly 51% of our nation's PhDs, around 51% of business school applicants, about 67% of college graduates, and more than 70% of 2012 valedictorians here in the U.S. But despite this progress, women are somewhat underrepresented in the financial planning profession, as we're all well aware of. The financial services industry is a bit behind the curve. This is generally part of my impetus for becoming a WIN advocate. I guest lecture along with Margarita Cheng regularly at universities across the country on how women can experience success. Our programs, in addition to mentoring young women wherever possible, emphasize the importance of investing in yourself professionally through programs such as the CFP program, actively contributing to your community. This notion of the Winston Churchill aphorism of you make a living by what you get, but you make a life by what you give to other people. I'd say the third component that we focus on in sharing the WIN story and empowering tomorrow's leaders is recognizing the importance of mentors as well as mentees. We learn as we teach, and the cycle of surrounding yourself with people that can help you grow, as well as sharing that knowledge is an important one. And the last two components of our education efforts with respect to younger people and tomorrow's leaders include investing in your personal self and how you spend your time, and, of course, developing relationship capital and how you ultimately collaborate with others. With respect to the toolkit, I most definitely concur with Cynthia that it empowers you with an intelligent framework for making a real difference and a foundation of information that really can help leaders make informed decisions about our profession and joining. And we also find the white paper to be of value and oftentimes refer people to the CFP Board career website. And certainly feel free, any attendees, to reach out to our organization if you'd like to learn more about how we're working with CFP Board as WIN advocates. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Samir. And again, thanks to Mary and Cynthia. You all have stand as great examples of what can be done as part of this WIN Advocate program. So I want to now turn to, hopefully your interest has been piqued for those of you who are not yet WIN advocates, and I hope you're asking yourself, how do I do it? How do I sign up? And we have that information to share with you. This is not a high hurdle program. In other words, we do not have many requirements at all, except that you be a CFP professional in good standing. That means no outstanding investigations or disciplinary history. I did see a question come through, and I just want to address that right at the point right now. There is no requirement for you to do so much, or there's no time commitment. It is really asking you to channel your passion in ways that work in your life, like Mary did and the others have done. So we just want to get the message out there. And as I say, your message may be to a young girl or, a niece. That's part of the program, is just telling the story. You can go to www.cfp.net/WIN-advocate. You've got the link right there. You can complete the online form. And we just have to check that you are the CFP that you say you are, and that's it. And then we get back to you with the access to our WIN toolkit. We have an information number or a link here that you can contact us at win@cfpboard.org. Now, we do have a little bit of protocol with respect to the use of our toolkit. We want this. I mean, this is CFP Board information and material, so we want it to be respected as such and not incorporated into, other presentations that you may be making to prospects or to other audiences. So please confine it to using it for your WIN activities and to WIN advocates only. So don't send the toolkit to another person who has not yet been approved as a WIN advocate by CFP Board. Certainly, if there are other CFPs that that would like to be doing this, just get them our way, and we'll go through the process with them. That really is about it, and we've just had tremendous success. We've had, as I said earlier, 180 people who have raised their hands and said, I'd like to do it. And we're growing, and we will learn more as we go along about what's working, about where to find audiences, about, a variety of things that will support this program. So we really thank you for being here today, listening, and now we have a nice space of a nice time period for questions, because we've got a lot of questions. And as Marilyn said earlier in the presentation, there's simply no way we're going to get to them all during this live discussion, but we will be following up with everyone who has asked a question, because these are great questions. They deserve answers, and we are really appreciative for your interest and your presence today.
Well, thank you, Eleanor, and Mary, Cynthia, and Samir. Wow, you are great WIN models, and you are true inspirations. And thank you to all who are out there listening and asking questions. Let me just jump right in. We had a series of questions about how to become a WIN advocate, and the details, I hope Eleanor's has answered those questions. A number of people have asked, how can I get a copy of this presentation? Will these slides be available? And the answer is yes. This presentation is going to be posted on our website at cfp.net, and we will send a communication out to everyone who is registered with the link to the presentation as soon as it is posted, and thank you for asking that. We have a series of questions. How can I contact a WIN advocate in my area? Can you publish a list of the WIN advocates? What we would like to do there, we're not formally publishing the list of WIN advocates. We think that there's a bit of a privacy factor there, but what we'd like to do is respond to that question by connecting those who have asked directly with WIN advocates in your area. So we will contact you and connect you with WIN advocates in your area. One person asked, how do we control WIN advocates contacting the same organization? Eleanor?
Yes, that's a great question. And in fact, we also have a CFP Board Ambassador program that is really somewhat similar. It's basically mobilizing people all across the country to go and talk about financial planning and the importance of certification. And this issue has come up in our ambassador program. So what we ask, and again, your collaboration will be needed, that if you do contact an organization, let us know that you've contacted that organization, and then we can make sure that other people in the same area are not not contacting the organization, or we can, assess, is there any sort of repetition that would be not desirable. But I'd love to think that people are contacting organizations in great numbers, because I think it will signal to them that this is a really important issue. Just let us know who you're contacting. The names of the organizations that we put in the toolkit, these are all organizations that have local chapters, generally speaking. If you're contacting a national organization, I think they'll let you know that whether they've had somebody else. But I recognize the problem, and we'll try to do it as, to coordinate it as best as possible, assuming that you keep us informed as to where you're going to be speaking. That would be most helpful to us.
Okay, thank you, Eleanor. So we've had some questions about what's the best way to keep in touch with you and with WIN activities. There were a few people who said that they contacted us, but they didn't hear from us. To those of you, we are sorry. Thank you for your email, and we'll get back to you right after this presentation, because we certainly have attempted to be in contact with everyone who has contacted us. We have a list of our WIN volunteers. These are sort of everyone who's interested in WIN. We have you on our database. We are sending you our regular WIN newsletter and keeping you in touch. So we want to make sure that we do that. But what you can do is you can go to cfp.net/WIN, and there is a very clear button for you to press to either become a WIN advocate or say, I want to be involved, and give us your information. So anyone out there who is not on our list, make sure that you go to the website, and we will make sure that you get on our list. So I think we have a number of, those are some of the more how does the WIN Advocate program look? How do I get in contact? There are a series of questions that relate, I think, to the broader initiative. So let's see if we can tackle some of those, Eleanor. We have a question from Ashlyn, how does the shortage of female CFP certificates relate to the underrepresentation of women in financial planning decision-making and in advisor engagement? Thoughts about that question? How does the shortage of female CFP certificates relate to the underrepresentation of women in financial planning decision-making and advisor engagement?
Ashlyn, I'd like to talk to you more about this, but I must confess I'm not quite clear about the underrepresentation of women in financial planning decision making. Are you talking at the level of the household or the consumer or the client? Because in fact, data suggests, the research suggests that our women potential clients or consumers are making a lot of, that actually they're responsible for a lot more financial planning or household decision making than probably formerly thought. But I suspect that's not what you're referring to. In terms of advisor engagement, I assume you may be asking about, are more women being hired than men, or is there any gender preference among clients for women or men? We do have information about that. That was part of some of the research that we did in 2014. Basically, we are finding that women clients are not leading with gender. In other words, they're not coming in to find a financial planner based first and foremost on gender. They're primarily looking at such elements as trust, competency. We do know from other studies that have been done that there may be some preference among certain subgroups in the female demographic, such as divorcees and widows, that there may be a higher than baseline preference for a woman advisor. We know that ultimately the business case for more women in our profession, in any profession in terms of leaders, managers, visible women, the case is going to be made by actually results. It has been found in corporate America that teams do better. They are more creative. They're more productive with more diversity, gender diversity on the team. And the adding more women to management goes right to the bottom line and actually improves performance numbers. So we need to study this in our own field where we may not have, publicly available information, but we need to be looking at how does the participation of women improve results for clients as well as for the firms themselves.
So thank you, Eleanor. We have a number of questions. How do people take the first step to obtain certification? How do people who are working but unsatisfied learn about and becoming a CFP certificate? So we know we have the vast majority of CFP professionals on the call, but in the event that there are some women here who need to learn more about what are the steps towards a certification, we actually do have a slide. Do we have it up on the screen? For the requirements for certification. So let me quickly go through these. Essentially, you have an education requirement. Someone needs to complete either online or in person the financial planning courses. They're offered by more than 300 CFP Board approved colleges and universities across the country. If anyone has a question about a program near them, just go on to cfp.net or give us a call. You need a bachelor's degree for a CFP certification, although you can be in progress towards that degree while you study for the courses and sit for the exam. Individuals who hold higher degrees or professional credentials can take the exam after completing only a single course, and that's the capstone course. CFP professional must pass a 6-hour computer-based exam. It's offered on 5 testing day windows 3 times a year. They must meet experience requirements. That's 3 years of qualifying work experience, or 2 years under our apprentice option, and that is working directly under the supervision of a CFP professional, pass the fitness standards and background check, and then once you're a CFP professional, meet continuing education requirements and the ethical standards. On the slide, we have the number for our support specialist at CFP Board and the email, so we welcome anyone who wants further information about those requirements to please contact us, particularly on the experience issue. Some folks don't know whether or not the type of experience they have may qualify. We have someone who will sit down and essentially walk through with you your experience and what portions of that experience may or may not qualify for certification. So it's important for those of you who are encouraging folks to begin the process to take steps towards certification, to remind yourself about what those requirements are. And actually, some of you who are CFP professionals, you became professionals. Those requirements have changed since the time that you became professionals. So it's just wanted to update that for you. Moving on to some additional questions, let's address. I know we had a number of questions related to looking at our own processes, looking at our own LinkedIn ads, looking at our board of directors. Trust me, this is very, very important. CFP Board made a commitment in the white paper. What can CFP Board do to advance women in the profession? And we essentially committed to looking at what we are doing right now, our entire processes and procedures. And I'm very pleased to let you know that effort, that's one of the implementation steps that is underway. We are working with consultants who are expert in the field to do a review, and we will be hopefully completing that review before the end of the year. So you will be hopefully hearing more about that. So I think we have only a couple of minutes left. Let me just say at this point in time, it takes a village. We hope we have a shared vision here. The vision for our WIN initiative is gender parity, and we hope that all of you are joining this call because you share this vision. We believe that through the work of everyone on this call, but also a much broader community, and that is the community of major financial services firms, organizations, we can have collective impact on this issue. The WIN initiative is part of a broader initiative that CFP Board is working very hard on and is hopeful to launch later this year, and that is the Center for Financial Planning that will be looking at workforce development issues, not only in the gender area, but looking at it in broader diversity, racial diversity, gender diversity, as well as age diversity, and then hopefully getting organizations, firms to agree with our vision and our identification of the problem, and then our vision to take affirmative steps towards addressing that problem. So we hope to have, this is a way for us to try to raise some much needed resources so that we can move forward with some of the additional initiatives that CFP Board has identified we think will move the needle. So with that, let me thank Eleanor and our panelists, Maria, Cynthia, and Samir, again, very much for your participation and your passion and your inspiration. And with that, let me thank everyone for participating.